Before we begin, let me warn you. This is not a love story. This is the kind of tale whispered in the dark corners of old kingdoms, the kind parents pray their children never stumble into. Because on the night Myra Dovell thought she was simply running from an abusive past, she had no idea she was running straight into the arms of a creature older than empires. A vampire lord feared by immortals, respected by shadows, and bound by ancient laws that could bend the fate of the living. One glance at the bruises she tried to hide, and the world she thought she knew shattered. What he did next became a warning, a legend, a story no one forgot. So sit tight, turn up your volume, and step into a realm where fear has a voice, laws have blood, and even the weak can rewrite destiny. This is the rise of Myra Dovell, and the awakening of the most dangerous protector the immortal world has ever seen. Quick one, drop your country or city in the comment. Let's see how far this story travels. The rain had been falling for hours, cold and sharp like tiny knives against Myra Dovell's skin. She walked alone through the dark forest, her thin cloak soaked through, her boots filling with muddy water. Every step felt heavier than the last, but she pushed forward because turning back was never an option. Not after what happened. Not after the village's lies. Not after the bruises. She kept whispering to herself, just a little further, just keep walking, Myra, you can't stop now. Ahead, lightning flashed, briefly lighting up the outline of a massive structure. It rose from the hill like a dark crown, Thornharrow Manor, the place mothers warned their children about. Stories claimed it was haunted. Others said a monster lived inside. Some said no one who entered ever came back. Myra stepped closer anyway. What was one more danger compared to the life she had just escaped? When she reached the iron gates, they opened on their own with a long, heavy groan. She flinched but didn't run. She was too tired, too cold, too desperate. She crossed the yard, climbed the stone stairs, and reached the door. Her shivering hand pushed it gently. The heavy wooden door opened as if expecting her. Inside, the air was warm, soft even. Dust floated lazily in the faint candlelight. A long hallway stretched before her, lined with tall mirrors and old portraits. She felt eyes on her, though no one was there. "Hello," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Is someone here?" Only silence answered. Her heart pounded as she stepped forward, dripping rainwater across the polished floor. The manor didn't feel abandoned. It felt asleep, like something ancient was breathing quietly within its walls. Suddenly, candles along the wall lit one by one, guiding her path. She froze. I can leave if I'm not welcome," she said softly, backing up. The candles flared brighter, almost as if saying stay. Myra swallowed, unsure if she was going crazy. She moved deeper into the hallway. She passed a tall mirror and paused. Her reflection looked so small, so tired. Her cheek was swollen from where she had been slapped. Her lip still carried a cut. She turned her wrist slightly, bruises shaped like fingers ran across her skin. She quickly pulled down her sleeve. She didn't want any living soul or anything to see that. A sudden whisper of wind brushed past her face, even though all the windows were closed. Then she saw it. At the far end of the hallway, a figure stood perfectly still, half hidden in the shadows. A tall man. Broad shoulders. Straight posture. His presence filled the space like a thunderstorm waiting to break. Myra gasped and stepped back. I'm sorry. I didn't know anyone lived here. I just needed shelter. I'll leave. You walked through a storm into the most feared manor in the valley, the man said in a deep, calm voice, and now you wish to leave. She froze. His voice wasn't angry. It was curious, soft, controlled, like he was studying her. You are soaked, he continued, stepping forward. You are trembling. And you are alone at an hour when the forest eats the weak. Why? Myra couldn't speak. The man was breathtakingly striking, raven black hair, pale skin that almost glowed, sharp features, and eyes so piercing they seemed to see through every lie and fear she carried. He looked too perfect, too still. Not normal. His gaze dropped to her wrist, just for a second. Then something in the air changed. His jaw tightened. His posture stiffened. His eyes darkened, glowing faintly like cold silver fire. "Who hurt you?" he asked. Myra immediately hid her hand behind her back. "No one. I fell." The man's eyes hardened. "Do not lie to me." Her heart raced. Please don't throw me out. I'll be gone by morning. I just need somewhere to rest." He studied her for a long moment, then said gently, "This manor does not open its doors for just anyone. It opened for you. Come inside." He turned and walked deeper into the hall. Myra hesitated, her hand still trembling. He paused and looked back. "My name is Lord Eric Thornharrow," he said. "And you are safe here." Safe. A word she hadn't felt in years. She followed him. Without knowing it, Myra Dovell had just stepped into the center of a supernatural world that would change her life forever. Lord Eric led her into a large, warm room lit by a glowing fire. Dark wooden shelves covered the walls, filled with old books, ornate bottles, and strange artifacts. A green velvet couch sat near the fireplace. Eric motioned for her to sit. Myra hesitated again. "I don't want to get your furniture wet." "I can buy more furniture," Eric replied simply. "But I cannot buy another you." She blinked in confusion. "What does that mean?" He didn't answer. Instead, he approached a cabinet and pulled out a thick towel. "Dry yourself," he said, handing it to her. She took it carefully, avoiding touching his fingers. Something about him felt dangerous, yet comforting, like a wild animal that chose not to bite. She rubbed her hair and clothes with the towel. Eric stood by the fire, watching her with unreadable eyes. "Tell me your name," he said. "Myra," she whispered. "Myra Dovell." His gaze softened. A fitting name. Myra means light in the old tongue. She looked down. "I don't feel like light. Not anymore." He tilted his head slightly. "Someone tried to steal it from you." Her throat tightened. "I told you," she whispered, "I fell." Eric walked toward her slowly, quietly, almost like his feet barely touched the ground. Myra felt her heartbeat speed up. He stopped right beside her and said quietly, "Hold out your arm." She froze. "Why?" "Because I asked gently. Do not make me ask with force." His voice wasn't threatening. It was firm. Final. The kind of voice that expected to be obeyed. Heart pounding, Myra lifted her arm. Eric pushed her sleeve back softly. When he saw the deep bruises, dark purple fingerprints, everything changed. The warm air felt suddenly cold. The fire's glow dimmed, flickering violently. Eric's eyes shifted. They glowed brighter, almost metallic. His breathing slowed until it was nearly silent. The room itself seemed to bend around him, reacting to the storm inside his body. "Who," he said in a dangerously calm voice, "put their hands on you?" Myra pulled her arm back, terrified. Please, don't be angry." "I am not angry," Eric replied. "I am furious. But not at you." His voice was steel wrapped in velvet. Myra hugged her knees. "It doesn't matter anymore. I left. I'm safe now." Eric's jaw clenched. "You are safe now because you are in my house. But safety does not erase wounds." He sat across from her. "Tell me who did this." She shook her head. "No. If I tell you, you'll do exactly what must be done," Eric finished. "You have my word." His tone sent a shiver down her spine. Myra looked into his piercing eyes. "You can't go after him. He's dangerous." Eric leaned forward slightly. "My dear Myra," he said softly, "there is nothing on this earth more dangerous than me." She stared at him. He wasn't boasting. He wasn't dramatic. He was simply stating a fact. Myra swallowed hard. I don't understand you. You are not meant to." "Not yet." He stood up again, pacing quietly. For a moment, she watched him in awe. Eric Thornharrow moved like a creature made of shadow and moonlight. Too silent. Too graceful. Too controlled. No human moved like that. She whispered, "Are you human?" Eric stopped walking. He turned slowly. "No," he said calmly. "I am not." Myra felt a chill run through her entire body. Her instincts screamed at her to run. Her tiredness begged her to stay. What are you? She asked, voice barely audible. Eric stepped closer, stopping only a foot away. He bowed his head slightly, as though giving her the choice to step back. I am something ancient, he said. Something your village has always feared. Something they tell stories about but never truly understand. He raised his eyes to hers, bright, silver, sharp. And I am something that will never hurt you. Myra breathed shakily. Why? Because this house chose you, he said. And because I saw the truth in your eyes the moment you walked in. She hugged herself. What, oh truth? That you were running from monsters, Eric said. And when a real monster sees another suffering at the hands of lesser creatures, he intervenes. Despite her fear, Myra felt warmth in her chest. He believed her. He understood her. No one ever had. Eric continued, I will ask you only once more. Who hurt you? She looked at the ground. Someone I trusted. That is not an answer. She took a deep breath. My ex-fiancé, she whispered. His name is Rowan. He blamed me for something I didn't do. The whole village did. He said he owned me. And when I tried to leave, her voice broke. Eric quietly finished her sentence. He left these bruises. She nodded. Eric's expression turned into carved stone, cold, emotionless, deadly. And is Rowan still alive? He asked. Yes, Myra whispered. Eric's voice dropped into something low and dangerous. Not for long. She gasped. Eric, no. You can't kill him. Eric leaned forward, eyes glowing brighter. Myra, understand something clearly. You came to my manor. That means you are now under my protection. His voice darkened. And anyone who harms what is mine, dies. Her heart hammered in her chest. What is yours? She whispered. Eric's eyes softened unexpectedly. You, he said. If you allow it. She felt her breath catch. What does that mean? That you are safe now, Eric replied. And no one, not your village, not Rowan, not even the creatures in these woods, will ever touch you again. Before she could respond, something strange happened. The walls of the manor trembled gently. A low hum vibrated through the floor. The flames in the fireplace rose higher without reason. Myra grabbed the armrest. What's happening? Eric turned toward the fireplace, expression unreadable. The house, he said softly, is welcoming you. Myra stared in shock. The house is alive. In its own way, Eric replied. It recognizes those who belong. And it has chosen you. She stared at him, overwhelmed. Why me? She whispered. Eric studied her gently for the first time. Because, he said. Your spirit has cracks, but it has not broken. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. And because I have waited a very long time for someone with a heart like yours to walk through my doors. Myra took a shaky breath. Her life, her world, her understanding of everything, shifted in that one moment. Eric, she whispered, what happens now? Eric Thornharrow looked at her with eyes filled with dangerous promise. Now, he said. I protect you. And though Myra didn't know it yet, those words would change everything. Myra didn't sleep that night. How could she? Even after Eric showed her to a guest room, large, warm, lined with thick velvet curtains, she lay awake staring at the carved ceiling. Every creak of the walls, every whisper of wind, every shift in temperature made her heart race. Because the house felt alive. Not figuratively. Not poetically. Literally alive. When she closed her eyes, she felt something like the house was breathing softly around her. Its presence was gentle, observant, almost protective. But protective of what? Her. That idea felt too strange. Hours passed. Myra finally sat up, unable to rest. The fire crackled softly in the corner. Shadows danced across the room, moving in ways that didn't always match the flame. Myra wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and walked toward the fireplace. Why are you awake? She gasped. Eric stood at the doorway, silent and still like a shadow carved from moonlight. How did you get in? She asked. Eric gave a faint smile. The door opened when I reached it. Then he stepped closer. The house likes to grant me access. Access. Myra repeated. It moves for me, he said simply. And for you, it seems. Myra swallowed. I don't understand. Eric walked past her and touched a small carving on the mantel. It glowed faintly beneath his fingers, as though recognizing him. This manor is bound by old magic, he said. It is loyal to my bloodline. But it has moods. He paused. And it has preferences. Preferences? Myra whispered. Eric turned to her. It allowed you in. But why? I'm no one. You are not no one, Eric said. Not to me. Not to this place. His words were gentle, but they struck deep. Myra looked around the room again. She could almost feel the house listening. Is it dangerous? She asked. Only to those who mean harm. His voice lowered. Or those who hurt what it protects. Her bruised wrist throbbed at his words. Eric studied her quietly. The house recognizes fear. It also recognizes strength. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. And Myra, you have more strength than you realize. She looked away, unsure how to respond. Eric continued, tomorrow, I will show you the grounds. The house wants you to understand it. I don't know if I should stay, she whispered. He stepped closer, eyes intense. You walked into Thornharrow Manor for a reason. Whether you know it or not, your life has changed. You are not safe outside these walls. She knew he was right. His voice softened. Are you afraid of me? Myra hesitated. I don't know yet. Eric didn't look offended. If anything, he looked relieved. That means you are honest. He stepped back slightly. Good. Honesty I can work with. He moved toward the door. Sleep if you can, he said quietly. The house will watch over you. Before she could reply, he was gone as silently as he had appeared. The next morning, Myra woke to sunlight warming her face. She blinked, surprised she had slept at all. The blanket she'd left near the bed was tucked around her neatly even though she didn't remember doing it. Good morning, a soft voice said. Myra yelped and spun around. A woman stood in the doorway, tall, elegant, with long black hair and eyes like polished obsidian. Her smile was polite but unsettling. My name is Lysel, she said smoothly. I am one of Lord Eric's courtiers. Courtiers? Myra repeated. Lysel laughed lightly. In simple terms. His people. His protectors. His shadows. Myra flushed. And you came to check on me? No, Lysel's eyes glittered. I came because the house woke me. It told me the little human was wandering. Myra blinked. The house told you? Yes. It speaks to those connected to it. Myra shivered. Lysel stepped into the room slowly, her movements unnaturally graceful. Come, she said. Eric wishes to show you the manor. Myra followed her downstairs, trying not to stare at the murals, the shifting shadows, the strange glowing runes carved into several doorframes. When they reached the grand hall, Eric was already waiting. You should eat, he said gently, motioning toward a table filled with warm bread, fruit, and tea. Myra sat, unsure of her place. Eric stood beside her, watching closely. Do you always watch people eat? Myra asked nervously. Eric's lips curved slightly. Only when I'm making sure they're not frightened. She looked down quickly. I'm not frightened. You are, Eric said softly. But you are trying not to be. That is brave. Lysel stood behind him, examining Myra with sharp, cat-like curiosity. When Myra finished eating, Eric gestured for her to follow. He led her through the manor. Through the library, where books whispered as they passed. Through the ballroom, where the chandeliers flickered in greeting. Through the garden hall, where vines curled toward Myra's fingers. Everywhere she went, the house shifted slightly, lights brightening, walls humming, air warming. Eric noticed. It responds to you, he said slowly. Stronger than I expected. Is that bad? Myra asked. No, he said. But it means you are connected to Thornharrow in a way I have not seen in over a century. The weight of his words pressed on her shoulders. What does that mean? Eric looked at her with an expression she couldn't read. It means, he said softly, Your presence here is no accident. Later that afternoon, Eric brought her to a dark oak door with symbols carved into it. This room, he said, holds the oldest truth of Thornharrow. He placed his palm against the symbols. They glowed white. The door unlocked. Inside was a chamber lit by a single lantern. Ancient scrolls lined the walls. In the center stood a stone table covered in carved runes. Myra stepped closer, running her fingers along the carvings. "What is all this?" she whispered. Eric walked around the table slowly, his voice low. "These are the blood decrees. The laws that govern the immortal world." Myra turned to him. "You keep saying immortal. What exactly are you?" Eric paused, then said plainly, "I am Shadowborn." She blinked. "Shadow-born? A being made of darkness and ancient magic," he explained. "Not vampire. Not demon. Something older." Myra shivered. "And you live by these laws?" she asked. "Yes," Eric said. "All 7 shadow houses do." He pointed to the main carving, 3 concentric circles with symbols between them. "In this world, there are rules even monsters cannot break." Myra stepped beside him as he explained each one. Rule 1. Blood cannot be taken without consent. "We do not feed without permission," Eric said. "To do so is an unforgivable crime." Myra nodded slowly. Rule 2. A Shadow Lord may claim a mortal under protection, but never against their will. Myra felt his eyes on her. "That is why I asked if you allow it," he said. Her heart skipped. Rule 3. If a mortal is harmed while under protection, a blood war can begin. Myra froze. "So when I told you about Rowan?" Eric nodded. "His actions break the decree." Myra swallowed. "Does that mean you're forced to destroy him?" Eric stepped closer, voice softer. "I am not forced to do anything. But I will not allow harm to go unanswered." She looked away. She didn't know if that comforted her or terrified her. Rule 4. No Shadowborn may enter another's territory without invitation. "That is why the house opened for you," Eric said. "It gave you sanctuary." Myra touched the wall. The surface felt warm, like skin. "Sanctuary," she whispered. "I've never had that before." Eric's expression softened. "You do now." Rule 5. Once chosen, a mortal must follow 3 vows. Eric reached into a drawer and pulled out a faded scroll. "Read," he said. Myra read aloud. Vow 1. Do not leave the Lord's protection without permission. Eric explained. "Outside these walls, the forests belong to creatures far worse than your ex-fiancé." Myra nodded stiffly. Vow 2. Do not speak of shadow secrets to mortals. Myra frowned. "Why not?" "Humans fear what they cannot control. And fear breeds chaos." Vow 3. If afraid, speak truthfully to the Lord. Myra blinked. "That's a rule." "It prevents misunderstandings," Eric said quietly. "Fear can accidentally start wars." Myra gently lowered the scroll. "So if I choose to stay here, I must follow these?" "Yes." "And what does it mean, to be under your protection?" Eric looked at her with a gravity she could feel in her bones. "It means no creature, mortal or immortal, can touch you without answering to me." His voice grew deeper. "It means you will not sleep in fear again. It means your life becomes tied to mine." Myra's breath caught. "Tied? How?" Eric stepped closer, his expression unreadable. "In the old ways," he said slowly, "a protected mortal becomes a part of the Lord's dominion. The house protects them. The shadows obey them. And the enemies fear them." Myra stared. "But I'm just a human." Eric shook his head. "No human has ever awakened Thornharrow the way you have." The room suddenly grew colder. The stone table began to hum. The runes glowed faintly beneath Myra's fingertips. Eric stiffened. "The house is responding to you," he said. "That should be impossible." Myra panicked. I didn't do anything." "No," Eric said, stepping forward. "You simply exist." The house trembled gently, like a giant creature stretching in its sleep. And then, slowly, the runes around Myra's hands lit up. Soft gold light. Eric stared. That is the color of acceptance, he whispered. The manor accepts your presence. You are becoming a part of its magic. Myra stepped back, trembling. I don't want to be part of magic. Eric's expression turned serious, almost urgent. Myra, listen to me. He grabbed her hands gently. You were drawn to this manor. You survived things that break even strong souls. And you walked into Thornharrow without fear of its legends. She shook her head. I didn't know what to fear. And yet, Eric said. You're not running now. Myra paused. He was right. She was trembling, but she wasn't running. Eric continued softly, this house has chosen you. I have chosen you. You are safe here more than anywhere else in the world. But why me? She whispered. Eric's voice lowered until it was barely a breath. Because something in you calls to something in me. And something in this house recognizes your heart. The lights flickered softly as if agreeing. Eric stepped back, studying her. Now you must choose, he said quietly. Do you accept sanctuary in Thornharrow Manor? Myra swallowed. Eric's eyes never left her. The house waited in silence. The old magic around her pulsed softly. Her whole life had been fear. Running. Pain. Loneliness. Here, she felt seen. Here, she felt protected. And here, she felt something awakening inside her, a spark she thought she'd lost long ago. She lifted her chin slowly. I choose to stay. Eric inhaled softly, relief flickering across his face. Then, he said. From this moment on, Myra Dovell, you are under the protection of Thornharrow. The walls trembled. The runes glowed brighter. The house let out a soft, warm hum. And Myra, for the first time in her life, felt a faint sense of belonging, strange, impossible, and terrifyingly real. If you want, I can now continue with Chapters 5 and 6, 2,000 words. Just say next 2 chapters. Understood. Here are chapters 5 and 6, fully elaborated in about 2,000 words, written in easy, cinematic English, with flowing dialogue and no interruptions. I will not ask you anything. I will not go beyond these 2 chapters. Night fell over Thornharrow Manor like a dark velvet blanket. Clouds drifted past the moon, and the wind curled around the estate with a voice that almost sounded like whispers. Myra stood at the window of her new room, staring at the moonlit courtyard below. Everything still felt surreal. Just yesterday, she was running through a storm, terrified and alone. Now she was being protected by a powerful being from ancient magic, living in a manor with walls that breathed and whispered. Her hand drifted to her bruised wrist. She wasn't used to feeling safe. A part of her didn't trust it yet. A soft knock startled her. She turned as Eric stepped into the room. Tonight he looked different, dressed in dark tailored clothing with silver accents that shimmered under the candlelight. His presence filled the doorway, quiet yet commanding. Myra, he said, I need you downstairs. Her heart tightened. Did I do something wrong? No, he said simply. But tonight, you must meet those who serve under me. She hesitated. Will they like me? Eric's expression was unreadable. Their opinion doesn't matter. Only mine does. Somehow that didn't calm her at all. He led her through the hallway until they reached the grand entrance chamber. 2 enormous dark wooden doors stood closed, carved with twisting patterns that seemed to shift if Myra stared too long. Eric placed a hand on the door. Stand beside me, he said. She stepped closer. Do not step behind me, he added. That would show weakness. Okay. And do not bow. Why would I bow? Eric's mouth curved slightly. Because you're polite. But polite is dangerous among shadows. Before she could answer, Eric pushed the doors open. A cold gust of wind rushed in. 3 figures walked inside, each one radiating a different kind of power. Lysel, the Shadow Blade. Lysel entered first, her long black hair flowing behind her like smoke, her steps silent and deadly. She wore a fitted dark coat with hidden blades at her sides. Her eyes glimmered with amusement when she saw Myra. Well, Lysel purred. The little human stands beside our lord. That's a bold choice. Myra stiffened. Eric stepped forward an inch enough to make Lysel grin knowingly. Rovan, the Silver Tongue. The second figure strolled in with a smirk. Rowan was tall, lean, and dressed like someone who enjoyed attention. His silver hair fell loosely around his sharp jaw, and his eyes gleamed with cunning intelligence. "So this is the human who awakened the manor," Rowan said, circling Myra slowly. "Interesting. She doesn't look like a witch, or a warrior, or anything dangerous at all." "I'm not dangerous," Myra said quietly. Rowan paused in front of her. "Exactly. And yet the house responds to you." He tapped his chin. "Fascinating. Marek, the silent guardian." The final figure entered quietly. Marek was massive, broad-shouldered, strong, with eyes like cold stone and a scar across his cheek. He carried himself with the quiet authority of someone who had seen centuries of war. When he saw Myra, he nodded once, not in greeting, but in acknowledgement. Eric spoke. "These are my courtiers. The ones who uphold Thornharrow's name, its laws, and its justice." Rowan smirked. "And now we have a new guest. Immortal. Under our Lord's protection." Lysel tilted her head at Eric. "Protection," she teased. "Eric, dear, you never protect anyone. You barely tolerate us." Eric shot her a sharp look, and she chuckled. Myra shifted uncomfortably. Suddenly, Marek stepped closer. "Human," he rumbled. "Do you know what it means to stand at the Lord's side?" Myra swallowed. I'm trying to understand." Rowan leaned in with a grin. "It means your life and death fall under Eric's command. And through you, war can begin." Eric's voice cut through the room like a blade. "Enough." He stepped beside Myra, placing his presence between her and the others. "You intimidate her," Eric said. "And I do not tolerate intimidation. Not here. Not toward her." Lysel smirked. "His protective. How rare." Myra felt her cheeks warm. Eric continued, "Myra is under my sanctuary." Rowan raised a brow. "Immortal? Under the Lord of Thornharrow's sanctuary? You haven't invoked sanctuary in over a century." Lysel crossed her arms. "What makes her special?" Eric answered without hesitation. "The manor chose her." The room fell silent. Marek's eyes narrowed. Rowan's smile vanished. Lysel's expression sharpened. "That changes everything," Lysel whispered. "It does," Eric said. Myra stepped back slightly. "I don't even know what that means." Eric turned to her gently. "It means this: you belong here now. This house protects you. These three protect you. And I protect you most of all." For a moment, Myra felt the weight of their attention settle on her like a cloak, heavy, powerful, overwhelming. Rowan stepped forward. "Then it seems we should teach our new resident how to survive in a world of monsters." Eric's eyes glowed faintly. "You will treat her with respect." Lysel grinned. "Oh, this is going to be fun." Myra wasn't sure if that was comforting or terrifying. But she felt something new stirring in her chest. Belonging. The kind she had never known. A deep, ancient horn echoed across the valley, so loud the windows rattled, the walls trembled, and the floor vibrated beneath Myra's feet. The sound was raw and violent, filled with challenge and fury. Myra jumped out of bed and ran into the hallway just as Lysel appeared, daggers strapped to her thighs and eyes blazing. "You need to stay behind me," Lysel said sharply. "What's happening?" Myra whispered. Rowan sprinted up the stairs. "The challenge horn. Someone has issued a claim against Thornharrow." Myra blinked. "A what?" Marek appeared beside them, his voice deep and grim. "Another house demands something from Lord Eric. And they want it now." The horn blared again, longer, louder. Even the manor growled. A low vibration rippled through the walls, like anger. Myra held the railing to steady herself. "But who is challenging him?" Lysel smirked coldly. "House Vesper. Only they use that horn." Marek added, "They are Eric's most ancient enemies." "And what do they want?" Myra asked. No one answered. Then Eric appeared at the top of the stairs, his cloak swirling behind him, his eyes glowing with controlled fury. "They want you," he said. Myra's blood ran cold. "Me? Why?" Eric approached her slowly, voice low. "Because you awakened Thornharrow. Because you are mortal under sanctuary. And because Vesper believes I have broken a law. Myra's voice shook. Did you? No, Eric said firmly. But they want to force a confrontation. They want a reason to start a war. Rovan stepped forward. And claiming the girl gives them leverage. Lysel added, they think you manipulated her into sanctuary. They want to test her. Question her. Break her. Myra's heart pounded. I don't want to be questioned. I don't want to cause a war. Eric gently placed a hand on her shoulder. You have caused nothing, he said. This is Vesper's aggression, not yours. The horn blared again. Eric looked toward the front doors. They await my answer. Myra caught his sleeve. Eric, what are you going to do? He turned to her, eyes burning with ancient power. I will do what I always do, he said softly. Protect what is mine. She shook her head. But you could get hurt. Eric stepped closer. My life is centuries long, he said. Most days are the same. But today I have something worth fighting for. Myra felt her breath catch. You can't go out there alone. A shadow passed through Eric's expression. I am never alone. As if on cue, the house groaned deeply like a beast waking. Marek stepped beside him. We stand with you, my lord. Rovan smirked. Shall I prepare a proper insult for Vesper? Lysel flipped a dagger. Let me kill the first one who speaks. Eric gave a faint nod. No killing unless they start. Myra watched them walk toward the iron gates. Fear clawed at her chest. She ran after Eric. Please don't fight because of me. Eric turned, touching her cheek with a tenderness that shocked her. I am not fighting because of you, Myra, he said. I am fighting because they dared to take an interest in what I refuse to lose. Myra's breath hitched. Lose, me? Eric stepped close enough that she felt the cold aura of his power. You do not leave Thornharrow, he said softly. Not by their hand. Not by anyone's. Not as long as I stand. Then he turned toward the gates. Myra grabbed his cloak again. Eric. He paused. Be careful, she whispered. For the first time, he smiled, not the dangerous, cold smirk she had seen before, but a real one. Soft. Quiet. Almost human. I will return, he said. Then the gates exploded open. Wind roared. Dust swirled. And standing outside was a figure dressed in black armor, holding a silver staff marked with Vesper's cruel emblem. He pointed the staff at Eric. Lord of Thornharrow, the messenger bellowed, House Vesper demands the surrender of the mortal girl named Myra Dovell for questioning. Eric's voice thundered across the courtyard. No. The messenger stiffened. Refusal of a summons is declaration of conflict. Do you challenge the judgment of House Vesper? Eric stepped forward, power rolling off him in waves. I challenge your right to even speak her name. The air crackled. The ground trembled. And Myra realized something chilling. This wasn't the beginning of trouble. This was the beginning of war. The courtyard still hummed with leftover tension from Vesper's challenge. After the messenger vanished into the mist, Eric returned inside with a storm in his eyes. Myra followed closely, her breaths shallow with fear. Inside the manor, the doors closed on their own hard, as if the house itself was angry. Eric's courtiers gathered around him. Lysel paced like a predator ready to strike. Rovan leaned on the staircase with a thoughtful smirk that didn't match the danger in his eyes. Marek stood still, arms crossed, jaw tight. Myra slowly approached Eric. Are we safe? For now, Eric said. But Vesper will not stop. They will try again. Myra's stomach tightened. Why are they so determined to take me? Rovan answered before Eric could speak. Because you are interesting, he said lazily. And in our world, interesting is often deadly. Lysel rolled her eyes. Don't scare the girl. Myra swallowed, looking at Eric. What should I do? Eric turned to her fully. You must learn. You must understand the rules of this world. And you must be able to stand in front of the immortal courts without trembling. Myra blinked. Me? Stand in court? What for? Because, Eric said, voice soft but firm, That is exactly what Vesper wants, to drag you before all 7 houses so they can question you publicly. You must be prepared. Myra shook her head. But I don't know anything. You will, Eric said. And you will begin now. He motioned toward the great hall. Training begins today. Myra hesitated. I'm not strong. I'm not brave-like. Myra, Eric interrupted gently. You walked into a haunted manor alone during a storm, with bruises on your skin and fire in your eyes. Never say you aren't brave. Her chest tightened. She wasn't used to anyone believing in her. Eric nodded to his courtiers. Begin. Part 1, Etiquette of Shadows. Rowan took the lead first. He snapped his fingers and the room darkened. Only a faint blue glow from the chandeliers lit the hall. Lesson 1, Rowan said. When you stand before the shadow courts, posture is everything. Chin up. Shoulders back. Do not fidget. Do not blink too much. And never look away when someone speaks to you. Myra straightened her spine awkwardly. Rowan circled her like a tutor examining a student. No. Too stiff. You look like a frightened rabbit. Relax, but stay tall. She tried again. Better. Good, Rowan said. Now, speak. Introduce yourself as if you were standing before the 7 houses. Myra inhaled shakily. My name is Myra Duvall. Too soft, Rowan cut in. Try again. She swallowed. My name is Myra Duvall. Better. Again. The training continued until Myra's throat felt dry, but Rowan looked pleased. You may survive after all, he said with a grin. Part 2, The Laws. Marek took over next. He led Myra into the stone chamber of ancient laws. He spoke rarely, but when he did, his words held weight. You must know the blood decrees, Marek said. If Vesper finds even one lie or inconsistency, they will use it against you. He pointed to the carved symbols. These, he said, are the foundation of our existence. Marek taught her each law slowly. Consent. Territory. Protection. Sanctuary. Oaths. Then he looked directly into Myra's eyes. You are under Lord Eric's protection. If you deny that in court, you break him. Myra flinched. I wouldn't lie. Good, Marek said. Because Eric would burn the world for loyalty. Her breath caught at the seriousness in Marek's voice. Part 3, Emotional Control. Lysel was the hardest. She stood in front of Myra, arms crossed. You panic too easily, she said plainly. You show fear. Shadows smell fear. Vesper will use it against you. Myra bit her lip. I can't help it. You can, Lysel said, stepping closer. Close your eyes. Imagine someone is yelling at you. Imagine the court shouting accusations. Myra's chest tightened. She could picture Rowan. The villagers. Their accusing eyes. Now, Lysel said sternly, control your breathing. Myra tried, voice cracking. I can't. Lysel grabbed her shoulders, not harshly, but firmly. You survived a man who hurt you. You survived betrayal. You survived running through a storm alone. Her voice softened. You are stronger than you think. Myra opened her eyes. What if I fail? Then we pick you up, Lysel said. And make you stronger. For the first time, Myra saw something almost kind in Lysel's gaze. Part 4, Eric's Lesson. Night fell before Eric finally stepped forward. Come, he said. He led her to the garden hall. Moonlight spilled through tall glass panels, illuminating silver vines and glowing flowers. This is Thornharrow's heart, Eric said. And it reacts to emotion. He stepped behind her. Close your eyes. She did. Think of the moment you first felt safe here, Eric whispered. What did you feel? Myra inhaled, recalling the warmth of the fire, the way the manor quieted around her, the softness in Eric's voice when he said she was safe. The vines glowed brighter. Good, Eric whispered. Now think of fear. Myra exhaled shakily. The vines dimmed. A flower drooped. Now think of defiance. Myra imagined facing Rowan. Imagine saying no without shaking. Imagine standing in court and not backing down. The flowers brightened again, this time fiercely. Eric stepped closer, his breath near her ear. "You are brave, Myra," he said softly. "You just need to believe it." She turned. "What if the council doesn't listen?" "They will," Eric said, "because you will make them listen." Myra whispered, "I'm not ready." "Yes," Eric said gently, "you are." She looked at him quietly. "Why do you believe in me so much?" Eric held her gaze for a long moment. "Because," he said softly, "Thornharrow has never chosen wrong." The flowers glowed brighter still. And Myra felt something she hadn't felt in years. Strength. 3 days later, the sky turned crimson. Not normal crimson. Not sunset. Something older. Something supernatural. Lysel watched from the balcony. "It's starting." Rovan smirked. "House Vesper loves theatrics." Marek tightened his armor straps. Eric turned to Myra. "It is time." Myra felt her legs tremble. Her breath came sharp and shallow. She wore a long dark gown the manor had chosen for her, literally chosen. The fabric had appeared folded on her bed that morning, shimmering with silver thread. When she touched it, the house hummed approvingly. Eric offered her his arm. "Ready?" "No," she whispered. "But I'll go anyway." Eric smiled faintly. "Good answer." The journey to the court. The Shadow Court wasn't inside Thornharrow. It was hidden deep within the valley, inside a cavern lit by glowing blue roots and ancient runes. As they walked through the cavern entrance, Myra felt the air change, thicker, colder, charged with old magic. Lysel leaned in. "When we walk in, do not look at anyone directly unless they speak to you." Rovan added, "And whatever you do, don't touch anything." Marek grunted, "Or anyone." Myra nodded nervously. Eric placed a hand on her back. "I am beside you." Those 4 words steadied her more than she expected. The court assembles. They stepped into an enormous chamber carved entirely from black stone. Torches burned with blue flame. Over 100 Shadowborn stood in a circle around the room, their eyes glowing in different shades: gold, silver, red, violet. Myra's breath caught. They were beautiful. Terrifying. Silent. Predatory. 7 thrones stood at the far end of the chamber, one for each shadow house. Eric's eyes narrowed. They gathered more than I expected. Vesper's throne holder, Lord Silas Vesper, stood as they approached. He was tall, cruel-looking, with hair white as bone and eyes like a blade of ice. When he spoke, the room froze. "Lord Eric Thornharrow," Silas said. "You arrive with your mortal." Eric stood tall beside Myra. "She stands under my protection." "You claim sanctuary," Silas said mockingly. "For a human." Eric's eyes glowed. "I do." Silas smirked. "Then let us test that claim." He motioned toward Myra. "Step forward, mortal." Myra glanced at Eric. His voice was quiet but firm. "Go." She stepped forward, heart pounding, trying to remember Rovan's lessons. "Chin up. Shoulders back. Do not look away." Silas circled her slowly, inspecting her like a curious beast. "You are fragile," Silas said. "Untrained. Unremarkable." Myra's fingers curled into fists, but she stayed silent. Silas smirked. "Do you deny that Lord Eric manipulated you into sanctuary?" Myra met Silas's gaze. "I chose sanctuary. No one forced me." The room shifted. Whispering began. Lysel raised a brow. "Good girl." Silas's eyes narrowed. "And why would you choose Thornharrow?" Myra breathed. "Because I was unsafe." Her voice trembled, but she continued. "And Eric gave me safety. Something no one else ever has." Silas tilted his head. "Sentimental." He turned to the court. "Does the mortal speak the truth?" The court murmured. Myra felt fear rising, but she remembered Lysel's training. "Stand tall. Don't break." Silas faced her again. "Very well. Final question." He stepped closer, eyes piercing through her. "Do you belong to House Thornharrow?" Myra swallowed hard. She looked at Eric. His expression was still, but his eyes, they pleaded. Not for himself. For her. Myra faced Silas. Yes, she said. Thorn Harrow is my sanctuary. The court gasped audibly. Magic rippled across the chamber. The walls shook. The torches brightened. Silas stared at her. Then laughed coldly. Then you accept the consequences. Eric stiffened. Myra. Silas raised his hand. I invoke the trial of dominion. The mortal must prove her worth before all 7 houses. Myra froze. What trial? Silas smiled with wicked delight. You will stand before our champion, he said. And survive. The court roared with anticipation. Eric stepped forward, fury blazing in his eyes. No. I forbid it. You cannot forbid a trial, Silas said with triumph. By ancient law, it must proceed. Myra felt her blood run cold. Trial. Champion. Survive. She whispered, Eric. Eric caught her shoulders, pulling her close. I won't let anything happen to you. His voice shook with barely contained rage. I swear it. But Silas had already summoned the champion. The ground trembled. The shadows deepened. A tall figure stepped forward, a woman with armor made of black glass, eyes like blood embers, and a sword crackling with red energy. Silas's voice echoed across the chamber. Meet Seren Vale, the undefeated executioner of House Vesper. Myra stared, frozen in terror. Seren smiled with razor teeth. And Myra realized something with sickening certainty. This trial was not meant to test her. It was meant to kill her. The chamber fell into a suffocating silence as Seren Vale stepped forward. Her presence was not merely intimidating, it was overwhelming. She was tall, sharp, and terrifyingly calm. The black glass armor covering her body shimmered like liquid obsidian, pulsing with red cracks of energy each time she moved. Her eyes. They were empty. Not dead. Just merciless. Myra felt her legs weaken. Her breath came out in short gasps. Silas's voice echoed smugly across the stone chamber. Let the trial of dominion begin. Eric stepped in front of Myra instantly, shadows swirling like smoke around him. No. The trial is for those who volunteer. Myra does not consent. Silas raised a brow. The mortal already consented to sanctuary. Sanctuary binds her to your dominion. And dominion binds her to its trials. You know this, Thorn Harrow. Rovan hissed under his breath. They're twisting the law. Lysel's eyes flashed. Let me end Silas. Eric raised a hand, stopping her. Silas smirked. If your mortal is worthy of protection, she will survive. The trial is ancient. It is fair. Fair. The word stung Myra like poison. Marik's voice rumbled from behind her. Seren Vale has executed more houses than Vesper will publicly admit. This is not a trial. This is a sentence. Silas tilted his head. Does the mortal wish to withdraw sanctuary? To admit Thorn Harrow manipulated her? She may speak. The court grew eager, leaning forward, watching, waiting. Myra felt a cold sweat run down her spine. If she withdrew sanctuary, she would be declared unclaimed. Unprotected. Vulnerable. Eric whispered, you don't have to do anything. I will fight this. She looked up at him. His face, strong, sharp, terrifyingly protective, was filled with pain. Like he feared losing her. She whispered, you'll go to war for me. I will burn every house to ash if I must. Her heart pounded. She stepped from behind Eric. Everyone stared. Even Seren. Myra. Eric reached for her, but she shook her head. Her voice trembled, but it carried through the chamber. I will face the trial. Gasps rippled across the room. Eric's eyes widened, almost panicked. No. Not this. Not her. Silas smirked. She volunteers. She does not. Eric thundered. But Myra lifted her chin, steadying her breath. I choose the trial. If I run from this, Vesper will keep chasing me. And they'll keep challenging you. I won't be used to hurt Thorn Harrow. I won't be used to hurt you. Eric stared at her like he was seeing a miracle and a tragedy at once. Myra, he whispered, stepping closer, you could die. She held his gaze. I could die anywhere. At least here, I die fighting. Silas's grin stretched wider. Let it begin. Seren lifted her sword. The blade growled. But just as the executioner stepped forward, Myra raised her hand. I invoke Article 23. The entire court fell silent. Silas blinked. You, what? Myra took a shaky breath. Article 23. A mortal under sanctuary may choose a non-lethal trial of endurance instead of a duel to the death. A shocked murmur spread through the chamber. Some Shadowborn even stood. Rowan's jaw dropped. Where in the abyss did she learn that? Marek answered faintly, the old scrolls, she memorized them. Eric stared at her with something new in his eyes, hope mixed with awe. Silas's voice shook with anger. That rule hasn't been invoked in 200 years. It still exists, Myra said. You can't deny it. Or you would break the decrees. The entire court now watched Silas. If he broke the law publicly, his house would lose power instantly. He clenched his jaw. Very well. Article 23 stands. The mortal will face the trial of endurance. Seren lowered her sword. But the danger did not vanish. This was no victory. This was a different kind of nightmare. The trial setting. The floor beneath Myra cracked open. A spiral staircase of glowing stone emerged from the ground. Silas declared. The trial will be held in Blackstone Hollow. Rowan exhaled sharply. That place will eat her alive. Lysel hissed. It's full of illusions. Fear magic. Old spirits. She'll lose her mind. Marek added, few immortals survive the hollow. Eric grasped Myra's hands. You don't have to do this. Myra looked straight into his eyes. I'm not doing this for them. I'm doing this for me. Eric's expression broke for a moment, just a second, but she saw it. He cared. Deeply. He pressed his forehead to hers. I will be waiting when you return. The trial chamber glowed. The staircase lit up. Myra stepped onto the first stone, but Eric grabbed her wrist gently. Myra, he whispered, listen to me. Whatever you see inside the hollow, it isn't real. It will use memories, fears, pain. But it cannot touch your truth. Remember who you are. She nodded, heart pounding. And she descended. The staircase closed behind her. Darkness swallowed her. Blackstone Hollow. The world shifted. Myra stood in a cavern lit by flickering blue flames. The air shimmered with illusions and whispers. Thin mist curled around her feet. Then she heard a voice. Myra. She turned sharply. Her breath caught. Rowan stood only a few feet away, smirking just as he had the day he broke her. But it wasn't him. It couldn't be him. This was a nightmare made flesh. Myra, the illusion said, you should have stayed with me. You were nothing before me. You're still nothing. She clenched her fists. No, she whispered. I'm not nothing. The cavern shook angrily. Rowan stepped closer. Eric doesn't care about you. He pities you. He'll use you until you break. Stop, she said, trembling. He's not you. And you trust him? Rowan scoffed. He's a monster, Myra. That's all he is. Heat flared in her chest. No, she said louder. He's not a monster. If anyone is a monster, it's you. The Rowan illusion twisted into something grotesque, snarling. The cavern trembled. Shadows swarmed at her feet. Myra screamed. But a voice echoed through her mind. Remember who you are. Eric's voice. She straightened. I am Myra Dovell, she said, louder. And I don't belong to you. Light burst from her hands, pure, white, impossible. The Rowan illusion shattered into dust. The cavern froze. Whispers rose around her, softer now. Not cruel, curious. She took a step forward. Another. And the hollow changed. This time her village appeared, full of pointing fingers. She faced it. Then her old home, where she cried alone. She walked past it. Then her father's grave. She knelt, touched the air, then kept going. Each trial tried to break her. Each illusion tried to trap her. But she kept walking. Whispers turned into wind. Fear turned into clarity. And finally light appeared ahead. A staircase leading upward. Her chest ached with relief. She climbed. And when she reached the top, the chamber opened. The trial was over. The court stared in stunned silence. Eric stepped forward, eyes wide. "Myra," he whispered. "You passed." The courtroom erupted. Lysel shouted in triumph. Rovan laughed like he'd just witnessed history. Marek nodded with deep approval. Silas looked furious, but he couldn't deny the result. Eric moved toward her slowly, as though afraid to break her. "You came back to me," he said softly. "I told you I would." Eric's chest rose sharply, like he wasn't expecting to feel what he felt. And Myra realized something. She had changed inside that hollow. So had Eric. The chamber was still echoing with chaos as Myra stood there, shaking but victorious. The torches brightened. The air hummed with ancient approval. Silas Vesper raised his hand to silence the crowd. "The mortal has passed the trial," he said bitterly. "But this does not prove Thornharrow's claim. Sanctuary alone is not dominion." Eric stepped forward. "It is enough." "No," Silas said. "If you wish her to remain under Thornharrow, then perform the marking." The court gasped again. Rovan swore. Lysel grabbed her head. Marek's eyes widened. Myra looked at Eric. What is the marking?" Eric turned to her slowly, expression torn with conflict. "The marking," he said softly, "is an ancient symbol placed on a mortal's skin. It binds them permanently to a Shadow Lord's protection. No house can claim them. No enemy can touch them. It is the highest form of sanctuary." "That sounds good," Myra said. Eric shook his head. "It also binds me to you. Until the mark fades, your fate becomes tied to mine. Your life, your death, your safety, your choices, they become part of my responsibility." She blinked. "And that's bad because..." Eric swallowed hard. "Because I do not take bonds lightly." The entire room buzzed with tension. Silas grinned. "If Thornharrow hesitates, then he doubts her." Eric's eyes burned. "I do not doubt her," he said. Myra stepped closer, voice steady. "Then mark me." Eric froze. "Myra," he whispered. She took his hand. "I'm already tied to you, Eric. The house chose me. I walked through a world of shadows for you. Let this mean something." He closed his eyes, breathing unevenly. When he opened them again, they glowed like silver fire. "Very well." The chamber dimmed. The air grew thick. Eric lifted Myra's hand gently. "Myra Dovell," he said, voice echoing with ancient power, "you have endured fear, truth, fire, shadows, and the hollow. By right of the Thornharrow line, I mark you under my protection." He placed 2 fingers over her wrist. The bruised wrist. The one Rowan had hurt. Light bloomed beneath his fingers, warm, golden, pure. A symbol formed across her skin. A crescent moon. Wrapped in thorns. Surrounded by shifting silver lines that glowed like starlight. The entire court bowed their heads instinctively. Even Silas looked shaken. Eric's voice softened. "You are mine to protect. And I am yours to command." Myra felt her heart tremble. The mark pulsed warmly, like it was alive. Eric looked at her, eyes full of something fierce, ancient, and painfully tender. "You are Thornharrow now," he whispered. "In every way that matters." The chamber erupted with stunned whispers. But Myra heard nothing. Felt nothing. Except the warmth of Eric's hand still holding hers. For the first time in her life. She didn't feel alone. She didn't feel afraid. She didn't feel broken. She felt claimed. Protected. Chosen. And the immortal world would never forget the day a fragile human girl changed the laws of dominion. If you enjoyed this chapter and you're hooked on Myra and Eric's dark, dangerous world, then you already know what to do. Hit that like button so YouTube knows this story deserves to be seen. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next chapter, because trust me, things are only getting deeper, darker, and more intense from here. And if you're ready for the next twist, drop a comment saying, "Continue the saga." Your engagement is what keeps this story alive. Until the next chapter, stay curious, stay brave, and step carefully in the shadows.